A land of Goshen. Bigfoot Dogman. Dear Scary Stories NYC. When I got out of the service in the early 70s, there were a small group of us who decided we'd move to a location together and sort of look out for each other. I myself had no family to return to, and to one extent or another, the same could probably be said about the other guys too. We all of us were from Western PA or Michigan, and somehow we all wound up finding jobs and homes to rent in the outskirts of Goshen and Shawville in Pennsylvania. We all lived near the woods and used to hunt north of there, where there are a few different legal hunting grounds. That was where we saw the creatures that I've gathered information about for you. Some of the guys and I are still in touch. 2 of us have passed on, and we all saw these creatures at least once each. They were real. At the time, we called them Bigfoot or Sasquatch, and I'm still not going to say that's not what they were. But the difference between the Bigfoot we saw and the ones on TV shows and in movies was that the Bigfoot we saw had tall dog ears on top of their heads. Maybe what we saw were dogmen or werewolves and not Bigfoot, but they were large and bulky and seemed very ape-like to me. If they didn't clearly have dog ears, I would just say we had multiple run-ins with Sasquatch in Western PA. These were kind of weird animals or men or whatever they were. I mean to say they looked like animals covered in fur and with dog ears. They didn't always seem as though they were acting like animals though. I might be projecting with that last thing I said. They seemed intelligent to me, but it's not like I saw them pull out a notepad and do calculus. All I really saw them do was stare at me from the woods and stand very still for long periods of time. That doesn't actually require any intelligence at all, but I really truly did feel deep down inside that there was intelligence behind their stares. Again, that could have all been in my imagination. Maybe they were just predators studying me for weakness. Maybe they were scared of me, or annoyed at my presence. Maybe they were just curious. The area wasn't wired for cable yet in those days, so maybe they were just bored. I'm joking, but that's because this subject gives me the creeps. Still, I'm not getting any younger, and I want to organize all our stories while there's still time to do it. My wife won't let me put my name on it, but I've arranged for my lawyer to publish all this through Amazon with all the real names 1 year after The Last of Us has passed on. I wasn't the first to see the creatures, but I probably saw them the most times. I guess it was 4 times or 5. 3 or 4 of them were sightings of one creature, but I also saw 2 of them another time. I don't think I ever saw the same one twice, but it was always dark, so I could be very wrong about that. They always seemed different from the last one I'd seen, so I wonder how many there were in the area back in those days. Others saw them moving and walking. One even claims that, well, let's get to that when we get to it. I only ever saw them standing perfectly still and staring at me. Yes, it was the creepiest thing in the world, and yes, I did try to get photos, but I never succeeded. The first time I saw one of them staring at me from the trees behind my backyard, I went inside to get my camera, but it was gone when I came back out. After that, I started to carry my camera with me, usually around my neck when I went outside. One evening I saw that eye shine staring at me, and I reached for my flash camera, eager to take a photo. That was the first and only time I heard one of them start to growl. It was like almost a machine noise, a low-pitched growling, and it made me stop reaching for that camera and start slowly moonwalking backward away from the eye shine. Fortunately, the creature was as disinterested in conflict as I was. Once I no longer saw the eye shine, I turned and ran as fast as I could to get back into the house. There was one time when I had a girlfriend with me, and she saw the thing out there behind my house, eyes glowing like 2 flashlights almost. She was the one who started us all talking about them as possibly being space aliens. To her, that's what they were. She was terrified of the big aliens out back. That's what she called them, the big aliens. And that was when we all started wondering about them in that way too. Maybe they were just animals. Maybe they were intelligent animals like humans. Or maybe they were space aliens. We lived in a world for a while there where all three of those possibilities seemed equally real to some of us. And I still don't even know what the true answer is. None of us do. The Dogman or a Sasquatch or a Dogman Bigfoot or a Googway or whatever it was remains a mystery to this day. That is to say, the entire tribe or clan or species of them. I can't tell you if it was an invasion from space or just a rare animal species because we only saw them at night. And I'm telling you, they are a scary thing to run into in the darkness. Now, I've gathered together 4 testimonials to add to my own stories which I've just related. These are from other people who were around back in those days and who also saw these very unique Dogman Bigfoot creatures. And before you ask, I never heard anyone talk about what kind of feet they had. I don't know if we were talking about the feet of a Bigfoot or of a werewolf. I personally never saw them move, and they were in the woods looking out at me each time. The ones who refer to them moving say the ground shook, so make of that what you will. Here's our first story from a fellow who prefers to remain anonymous. Testimonial number 1. Subject: encounter with a strange creature in the woods. Hey there, I thought I'd share a story from back in the 70s when I was out camping in the deep woods of rural Appalachia. It was one foggy morning, so thick you could hardly see your hand in front of your face. But that didn't bother me much. I was used to it, being out there in the wild. I was sitting by my campfire just taking in the quiet of the morning when I heard something stirring in the trees nearby. At first I thought it was a bear or maybe a deer, but then I saw it. This massive, hairy creature, standing there in the mist, looking right at me with those big, glowing eyes. Now, you were with me overseas and you know I've never been one to scare easy. But let me tell you, seeing that thing sent a chill straight to my bones. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before, standing there tall and powerful, like some kind of an ancient beast from the mythologies. I sat there staring at it for what felt like hours, but it couldn't have been more than a few minutes. Then the sun started to break through the fog and I figured that was my chance to get out of there. I packed up my gear faster than I'd ever done before, leaving that campsite behind like it was cursed. I've never been back since. Some folks might think I'm crazy, but I know what I saw that day, and I'm taking no chances with whatever that thing was lurking out there in those woods. Take care. Testimonial number 2. Hey, your email brought back memories I thought I'd long forgotten. Back around 72 or 73, my buddy Anton and I were out hunting in the Pennsylvania woods, just like we did every season. But that day was unlike any other. We were tracking a deer and we stumbled upon something we couldn't rightly explain. I saw 2 towering figures, unmistakably wolf-like, prowling through the trees. They were unlike any creatures I'd ever seen, tall and powerful with eyes that seemed to pierce through the mist. And there they were, standing tall amidst the trees. These creatures that I can only describe as Sasquatch-like, but not Sasquatches exactly. They had dog ears atop their heads, tall and pointy, like some kind of a crossbreed between ape and dog. Their fur was thick and dark, like the shadows themselves had come to life. Taller than any man I'd ever laid eyes on, with shoulders broad enough to carry a Harley-Davidson. But it was their eyes that truly unsettled me, glowing with an otherworldly light that seemed to pierce straight through to your soul. They stood there unblinking, staring at us with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine, and there was this strange hum in the air, low, constant, like the earth itself was singing a sad song. But I thought the strangest part of all was the smell. It hit like a wave, the odor of matches burning on a cold winter's night. Sharp, acrid, and entirely out of place in those woods. And yet, despite the presence of these creatures, there was a silence that hung heavy in the air. A silence so thick you could cut it with a knife. Not a chirp from the crickets. Not a croak from a frog. Not a hoot from an owl. It was as if every living thing held its breath, in fear of what might come next. But Anton, well, he saw something different. He swore up and down that what he saw were Bigfoot-like creatures, but get this. According to him, one of them was gliding through the air, like it defied gravity or some such nonsense. I haven't seen him for years, but last time we spoke about it, he was still insisting he saw a levitating Bigfoot. I do believe him. I mean, I believe he really saw that. It's just that I not only saw them stomping around, I felt the ground under my feet when their big feet landed. Now, you might be wondering how two men standing right next to each other could see such different things. Truth be told, I've pondered that question many times myself. Some folks say it's the mind playing tricks. Others suggest it's the work of them cryptids themselves, messing with our heads. But the way I see it, maybe the woods got a way of showing us what we need to see, rather than what's really there. Maybe it's a reminder that there is more to this world than meets the eye. Either way, that day in the woods will stay with me till my dying day, and I expect Anton feels the same. Some mysteries just aren't meant to be solved, I suppose. Thanks for bringing back that memory. It's been a while since I thought about it. Thanks for writing, Felix the Cat. Now, Felix gave me the last address he had for his old hunting buddy Anton, and I wrote to him asking for his side of the story. I did eventually get a response, but unfortunately it was not from Anton, but from his widow. She wrote to us with the sad news of her husband's recent passing. She did, however, recall the story we were writing to her husband about, so I am going to include her email here. Testimonial number 3. Anton's widow. I hope this email finds you well. Unfortunately, I must inform you that my husband passed away before your letter arrived. I appreciate your reaching out, but he will not be able to respond. However, I did read your letter, and it stirred up my own memories of an incident he often recounted to me and to our family friends. This happened back in the early 70s when he was out hunting in the deep woods of rural Appalachia with his friend who you mentioned in your email. It was a foggy morning, much the way you described. He told me about encountering not one, but 2 large creatures resembling Sasquatch or Bigfoot, but with peculiar dog-like ears atop their heads. One of them approached him, lumbering toward him and shaking the ground when he did. The other one moved in a way that was much more eerie, like it was gliding rather than walking. Both stared at him through bright glowing eyes. My husband said he turned and ran, going back for his stuff later on. The encounter left a lasting impression on him, and he actually gave up hunting for almost 2 years before he got his courage back. That was before I met him, so I'm just telling you what he told me. I'm sorry I can't provide you more details or insights, but I did want to share his experience with you as best as I could. Thank you, and her name. I've saved my favorite story for last. This is from my buddy Cecil, who claims he got taken away by them. Well, let's just let him tell it. Testimonial number 4. Cecil gets seasick. This was a terrible experience for me, although I know you guys think it's funny somehow. It wasn't funny for me. I'll write it down for you, but don't ask me to tell it ever again. You can reread this if you want to hear it anymore. This is my final telling. So I was not hunting when I had my experience like most of the rest of you. I was walking through the woods feeling sorry for myself. I felt down in the dumps and was in a loser state of mind. I wasn't paying attention to what was happening around me, and before I knew it, a large hand was wrapped over my face, blocking my eyes, and I was dragged away suddenly. It was hard to breathe, and I was mostly focusing on trying to get air in and out of my lungs while a big leathery palm was over both my nose and my mouth. I could only manage little gasps in and out, and we seemed to be moving at a very fast speed. Whoever had hold of me was leaping and running, and my body was getting banged and nicked from all sides for the entire time. When we finally stopped and I was dropped, I retched all over the ground and then passed out. I don't know if I was out for a minute or an hour, but when I woke up, I was in a dark place, like a cave or something. I saw my late grandmother sitting in the corner wearing dirty clothes, and I called out to her. I don't know if she could hear me. I sat up and noticed that Grandma was only one of about 8 or 9 people, who all seemed to be dazed, just sitting on the cave floor. And then these large dog-headed Sasquatch came in, sort of the same thing that the rest of you had also been describing seeing, and they seemed to be the masters of the humans, like they would order them around and make them do tricks. I was still feeling very nauseous and I passed out. When I woke up, I was asleep on the ground in the woods not 200 yards from my own backyard. No, I can't explain it, but I still had dried puke on my t-shirt when I woke up back home, so I know that it really happened. At first I was thinking that I had to go back and find that place because my grandmother was one of the captives there, right? I mean, who wouldn't feel they had to go back and rescue their grandmother? But as I started to come back to full consciousness, it hit me like a ton of bricks. My grandmother had passed on while I was still overseas in battle. So that's why this story isn't as funny to me as it seems to be to the rest of you guys. Like, what if I saw a glimpse of my own future? Like, what if that's what purgatory or hell looks like? Do you know what I'm saying? It's just not so funny to me because I was there. And I have no idea if that's where I'm going back to after I'm gone from this world. And maybe that's why I got brought back to the rear of my house like that. Maybe they made a mistake and just took me too early. I once started to look into the mythology of dog-headed entities, when I found out that they usually seem to be associated with death and the afterlife. It freaked me out, and I had to stop reading about the subject. I figure it's not really something I have to research. When the time comes for me to pass on, I'm sure I'll become an expert on it, all in a flash.
It's a classic all over, play with the scary stories, got it. It's a classic all over, put it in a hysterical to go. Available in white, black, navy, gray, or pink. Link is in the description.
Five 77 donated to us using Super Chat. Feel 577. His name's where it's at. Please allow me to introduce her. Philo is this episode's executive producer. If you'd like to be one too, then listen to Hank. All he says is true.
Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that one. It cuts off after, I think, 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.